Hello. We are back again with Cook with a Doc. My name is Chef Tia Berry, and we are here with Dr. Oliver Monfredi. And today we're going to be making a chicken gumbo.
Nice to meet you, Tia. I'm excited too.
I'm excited. What we're going to do is we have a whole rotisserie chicken. What I like about this meal is that you can use leftovers, or we have a rotisserie chicken that we bought, and then we also use frozen and canned. So these are things you can pull from your pantry. A quick weeknight dinner that's hearty, full of protein, and tasty. Just what I like.
Sure.
Okay, so what we're going to do first is, before we start shredding our chicken, this calls for shredding chicken. This is the easiest part. We're going to start over on this side.
Okay.
Okay? And basically with this dish, all we do is dump everything in the pan, and then we start shredding our chicken. How's that sound?
That sounds really easy.
And while we do that, why don't we talk about what it is that you do?
Well, I work for the cardiology team at Johns Hopkins. I'm a heart rhythm specialist, so I deal with all the full range of heart rhythm abnormalities: slow, fast, and irregular.
Cool.
And if somebody needs an ablation or a pacemaker or a defibrillator, then I'm the guy.
You're the guy to see.
Yeah.
Not that I want to see you.
No.
Not in that respect. I'm glad to meet you here and not there.
Me too.
So what we're going to do first is take off the tops to our, let's put them over here.
Okay.
Because they will get hot if we
This one as well?
Yes.
All right.
We're going to make these side by side. So to start off, the first thing I want to do is turn it on.
Okay.
And we're going to turn yours on.
Okay.
To get started. And the first thing we're going to start off with, our chicken broth. You notice they look a little bit different, right?
Sure.
So this one is made from the no salt chicken bouillon.
Oh.
So if you run out of chicken broth, you don't have the box, you don't have the cans, you can use that. This came from the box that you'd find in the grocery store on the shelves.
Sure.
So the first thing we're going to do is pour this in. We have our chicken broth.
Okay.
Then from there, because we have frozen veggies, we want to add those in so that when things come up to temperature, if we add our frozen veggies in last, it'll bring everything back down. So we'll put these in first.
Okay.
And this is just one bag of frozen veggies.
Okay.
We kind of use our spoon to get all of them.
And your stock is from an actual chicken?
Yes.
Is it? Okay.
Well, pretty much both. This is dehydrated.
Okay.
With the chicken flavor, and this is what I like to do is take the whole chicken, and I'll show you that too. I'll take my chicken, if it's a rotisserie chicken with the bones.
Yeah.
And even though, like I said, this is quick, I'll add that in here too because the bones have a lot of flavor.
Sure.
So I like to do that.
And presumably, if you wanted to do this to try to make it meat free,
yes,
you can get like a vegetarian equivalent.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Instead of doing chicken, because I have a child who doesn't like a lot of meat.
Sure.
And a lot of times I do have to make vegan alternatives, so we can do just all veggies, add no meat. We can do tofu, we can do jackfruit or mushrooms. Mushrooms are, oyster mushrooms.
Absolutely.
Are really great.
Yeah.
Too. So we're gonna add our tomatoes.
Okay. And have these been seasoned with something, or are they just straight out of the can?
These are no salt, fire roasted tomatoes.
Okay.
So any brand works. You can get the store brand. It doesn't have to be a famous name brand. Fire roasted I like because it gives like a smoky flavor.
Okay.
Adds some depth of flavor.
Sure.
We have 1 can of corn.
And this is got like a routine amount of salt and sugar in it, or this is a low salt and sugar?
This is low sodium. Everything, same thing with the canned beans. We get the low sodium option.
Yeah.
And for our seasoning, we're going to add that last, but we can add it whenever. I have the no salt Cajun seasoning, and you can either make your own, which I tend to do.
Yep.
A lot of times I'll go online and I'll look up a recipe for a spice blend. Make that spice blend and omit the salt, and then you can add what you want to. And a lot of people don't realize that even though it's a no sodium or low sodium version, there's still some sodium in it for processing. Same thing with chickens. They inject chickens, even raw chicken, they inject it with saline, which is salt water. So you do have to be mindful. And I know from working at American Heart, one of the things I know, you're only supposed to have 1,500 milligrams of salt per day. We learned that. And that's in everything that we eat and drink. So we have to be very mindful of what we're putting in our foods.
And like you say, it's hard to control that, isn't it? If you buy like pre-made
Convenience items.
spices and things like that.
Absolutely.
Whereas if you're making them up yourself, it's a lot easier to control.
And then you can buy spice jars. You can buy what do you call them? Mason jars.
Right.
I really prefer mason jars. You can buy the bigger ones. And if you cook a lot like I do, you don't have to worry about the caking agent, which is another chemical that they add.
Right.
So add our beans. Now the beans we didn't drain.
Okay.
Why don't we drain them? I don't know, but it adds flavor. And it's no salt.
Well, that's good.
And then we also, last we have rice.
Okay.
And this is the brown rice, minute rice.
You cooked that already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just put it in the or you can get the microwave pouch rice.
Okay.
Brown rice is because it's full of fiber, better than the white rice. It's more processed, less processed. I'm sorry.
Yep.
We just want to give this a stir, and while we let this come up to a boil, add your spices too.
Okay. So what's
And
this is Cajun, you said?
This is Cajun, so it's got a little kick to it.
Okay.
It's a no salt Cajun blend.
And that's a shop bought one, or that's one that you made up yourself?
That's one that we got from the grocery store. It was there's a lot of brands now you can get that's no salt.
Okay.
And this was definitely one of the ones that we got that was no salt. But for me, myself, I make it at home. I do, because I like spicy. We like spicy. My family's from Louisiana, part of my family, and we do a lot of Cajun. So this really works for us, the gumbo.
Yeah, looks great.
So
Nice and
next thing we're going to do, I don't like a lot of stuff on my hands, Doc. So I like to put on gloves. We did wash our hands. However, I don't like a lot of things. I don't like a lot of stuff on my hands.
No, I don't blame you.
That's why I put on gloves.
Seems reasonable.
And what we're going to do basically is we're going to manhandle this chicken
Okay.
and tear it apart and shred it.
Right.
That's the easiest way. I'm just going to break it in half. And
So you put half in each
Yes.
pan.
Pretty much you need 2 cups.
Okay.
And then, like I said, what I tend to do, take off the skin. Anywhere you find skin, I like the bones because like they add flavor.
Okay.
Additional flavor. But you don't have to. Sometimes it freaks people out when they see the bones in there.
So you would put the bones in there?
I would take the skin off,
Yeah.
the meat off, and then put the body in, what we call the carcass,
Okay.
to get the extra flavor.
Right.
Something about the bones give you extra flavor.
I'm sure. Probably.
Even when you're making soup from scratch, if I can, I'll try to get a chicken. You can take a whole raw chicken.
Right.
I take off the skin because that adds the extra fat, but you take that whole chicken and you put it in some water with some onions and celery and carrots, and then you can make a quick broth from that. And then you can still use that chicken either in that soup, or you can use it for sandwiches, chicken salad.
Right.
You have a whole chicken at your disposal.
And would you recommend, if people were really trying to cut down their saturated fat intake, maybe putting the skin to one side and not including that in this dish? Or
Absolutely. I take the skin off.
Oh, you wouldn't include the skin?
No.
Oh, I'm doing it wrong then.
Yes, we want to take the skin off.
I need to put it to one side. Sorry, I was including it.
And the reason, while it may taste delicious, it's not heart healthy.
No, that's right.
So we do take the skin off. And then for some people, they don't want to, if you want to be even more heart healthy, we can just use the white meat.
Okay. And where do you recommend people buy their chickens from? Do you just regular supermarket, or would you try to use, locally reared poultry, if that was possible? Yeah.
If you can afford it, because it's usually more expensive.
Yeah.
I get the cage-free.
Okay.
I try to get cage-free.
Yep.
I just feel like there's a difference in the taste.
Okay.
Nutritionally, there's no difference,
Yep.
obviously, but taste-wise, I feel, and maybe it's me being the chef, the way you beef, because they treat them nice and they play the music, and I feel like the chicken running around is happier. So
no doubt.
They're going to taste better.
I would think you could definitely taste that.
So
happy life.
I prefer cage-free eggs and cage-free chicken.
Yeah.
But if that's not an option, there's no nutritional difference.
Sure.
The chicken that you get from your local grocery store or
Yep.
your high-end grocery store is going to be the same.
Okay.
It's about preference.
Yep. And you take the meat off the wing and everything?
Off of
Okay.
everything.
And you say-
If I don't have kids or family members in the kitchen stealing chicken legs and chicken wings, if they make it to the pot, yes.
I know that my 2 little dogs would be at home, would be sat right
Right
here
there, waiting for something to fall.
Oh, they would. They would.
Do they beg? Because my dog begged.
They
would
do.
sit there and beg for food. I'm like, geez, no.
No, they certainly do. They've been well trained that over time, if they sit there and look at you longingly enough, that they'll
With the puppy dog eyes.
exactly, they'll get their little share.
Of course. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, this is really easy, isn't it?
Super easy.
Yep.
And it's another thing that you can also get your kids involved.
Yeah.
A lot of times when my little one, my kid's 15 now, but when they were younger, they were interested in cooking, and maybe they can't use the knife and because of their age, but they can definitely shred up chicken.
Right. It's always nice to get them involved, isn't it? They feel
Always.
more interested in what they're going to eat if they've contributed to the the putting together of it.
Absolutely. And I think they were more conscious
Right.
of what they're putting in their body.
Absolutely. And so once we've got the chunks off, we strip it up
Strip it up.
like this.
Yep. And depending on how you prefer your chicken,
Yep.
sometimes people want it smaller.
Okay.
I like chunks. I like to see my chicken floating, so I know it's chicken. So I kind of leave mine a little chunky.
Yep.
Take a look at our soup. Yours is
Oh yeah, mine's going.
going.
Yep.
As far as the mixed veggies, normally the recipe calls for, because traditionally in gumbo you would have okra.
Okay.
Our grocery store didn't have frozen okra.
Okay.
It didn't have okra in a can. So,
Okay.
and I'm not really a big fan of okra. I ate a lot of it as a kid.
You did?
So I feel like recipes are guidelines as long as we stick to the rules.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
Mind how much salt we put in it,
Yep.
how much fat we're putting in it. But if I don't like okra, why use okra?
Switch it out.
Right? Switch it out.
Exactly.
I'm still using veggies. I'm still adding the right nutrients to it. I'm just tailoring it towards my
Right.
needs.
And the mixed
For some
veggies.
people don't like chicken, so we can tailor that as well.
Right. The mixed veggies give it such a nice colour as well,
It
don't they?
does, and it smells
It looks appetizing.
really good.
Yeah, it smells great.
We'll turn yours down a little bit.
Okay.
Because pretty much once we add our chicken, we're gonna let the chicken warm up.
Yep. Looks good.
It really does. I can't wait for you to taste it and tell me what you think.
And I guess if you really like spicy, right, could you
I
add
do.
some spice
If
or
you-
seasoning to the chicken as well, or would that?
So for me, I do like spice. We like the spice where you start to sweat and it's like, oh gosh, it's like super hot in here. I would add red pepper flakes because again, in my
okay.
family, we like super spicy. So to not add the salt, I would add red pepper flakes. I would
Yeah.
add cayenne
Okay.
to give it that extra kick.
Yeah.
Sometimes I remember as a kid in Louisiana, we would have, it's so spicy sometimes. I would, like my hair would itch and my eyes would water and my lips would burn, but then you keep eating it. That's like torture, I guess.
Well, I'm from
But this is not that hot. We won't be doing that today.
being from England, I'm kind of probably the opposite end of the spectrum.
opposite.
You know how we are with spice.
Yes.
Although we
but-
do like curries and things like that.
Yes, and that's why I say, wait a minute. In England,
Yeah.
there's a lot of curries.
Oh, there really is. Some
and they are
delicious-
delicious.
Really.
I just think this is so pretty. And
It
I will
is.
say this would not be what we consider a traditional gumbo.
Okay.
So I know some people are going to look at this video and say, this is not gumbo. We know.
Yeah.
This is a version of gumbo, but it's healthy.
Okay.
It's healthier for you, but it has the same flavors. And if you closed your eyes and taste it, you would not know any different.
How much
So-
do you have to reduce it down?
You don't have to reduce it. We're done.
Oh, we're done. That's it.
Yes, because the chicken is already cooked. We just
Okay.
wanted the chicken to warm up.
All right.
And the stock. This is done.
Oh,
Your
great.
dinner is done.
That's so easy.
So easy, and that's what I love.
Yeah. Really quick.
Do you think your kids will like it? Well, minus the chicken.
no, they would. They really would. You know, they like pasta dishes, you know, with tomato sauce, and
Okay.
I think they could get with this, especially with those you call them fire roasted tomatoes.
Fire roasted tomatoes, and
Give
it
that
gives
a
it like a different depth of flavor.
Yeah.
It gives it that smokiness.
Yeah. No, I think they could definitely get with it.
And if you didn't have fire roasted tomatoes, you can add smoked paprika.
Okay.
You're not adding any salt, but you're giving it that smoky flavor, and it gives it some more color.
You know, I mean, if you're busy at work all day and you know you're looking to get something on the table real quick as soon as you get home, that's not, you know, that's healthy and quick. I mean, this is so
This
easy.
is great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Yay. I'm glad you liked it.
I really did.
So now we have to try it.
Okay, well, that's the best bit, right?
We can't double dip,
No,
but we have to try it.
I understand. So T, I was just thinking, you know, I hear a lot from patients that, you know, that it's hard to cook healthy, both, you know, within a reasonable budget and
Yes.
also, you know, quickly. And it's so
Yes.
much easier to go out, pick up, you know, what actually is.
Because it is,
Yeah.
right? If you think about it, if you go to some of these fast food places, they're $1 menu and you can get something really quick, feed your family relatively cheaply, but then that's just one meal.
Right.
With this is still relatively cheap. You're using things that are probably in your pantry that you had anyway.
Yeah.
And you're feeding the same amount of people, but maybe more than once.
Sure.
Because this can go with 2 nights.
Right.
2 nights. You can even take it for lunch the next day.
Absolutely.
So
What do you think about the value of like meal prepping as well? You know, because you know I know that takes a bit of effort at the weekend or something
does.
like that. But you know, to not be in a situation where you have to make bad choices. You know.
So for me, meal prepping is great because my family is large.
Okay.
So let me say that. If you're not a person that likes leftovers,
Right.
you can make your meal prep for 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, however many you like to have.
Yeah.
In my family, we don't do a lot of leftovers because I cook all the time. So whenever I do meal prepping, I'll do enough for dinner and maybe lunch tomorrow.
Okay.
That's the extent of my meal prepping, but I'll do it for different days.
Understood.
And Sunday is my day to meal prep.
Yeah.
So I may cook 5 or 6 meals, and that's just me being me. I would
Right.
say honestly, it would be easier to make a meal that's going to last you 5 days
Yeah.
as opposed to being in the kitchen all day Sunday and making several, but it will save you money.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be anything major. It can be soup, it can be chicken and rice, it can be something relatively inexpensive.
Right.
But if you make it in advance and you make it at home and then you take it with you, it's always much cheaper.
Yeah. Well, we don't do it all the time, but certainly it helps you make a lot fewer bad choices, I think, with your
When
eating.
you're out and about.
If you've got something that's available that you've planned and is good and wholesome like
And
this.
you know it's something that your family likes.
Right.
And you know they're going to eat it.
Right.
It's like a dice toss when you're out, for me anyway, because now food doesn't taste the same as it did. A lot of these places, it's not good either, and it's full of salt. So
Well, it's very expensive as well to eat out.
Yep.
You know, when you consider the number of meals that you're going to get from something like this for the overall cost.
everything
you know, it
is
can
more
be.
expensive too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed,
Sure.
but everything is super expensive. So if I'm going to eat a meal and I'm going to have something that I like, it's more than likely it's going to be something that I made because
Right.
I like my cooking and I know exactly what's going into it.
Exactly.
So,
Well,
you ready to try this?
oh, I'm excited about it.
Yes. Okay.
You
cool.
want your bowl?
Yes, sir.
Looks fantastic.
Yes.
What would you say to people who say that they would eat this, but they would want to put sauce on it? You know, what, like if they wanted to put hot sauce on it, what are your thoughts on that? Because I know that, you know, those sort of additional ingredients, or you know, can actually kind of
Add
secretly
sodium.
add a lot of sodium, which you're really trying to avoid.
I would say if you wanted to add some more heat, go for cayenne. Just go for the actual
Yep.
ingredient. We're going to turn it off. We don't want it to overcook.
Sure.
Go for the actual ingredient. You
Okay.
want the spice, go for the spice. Use
Yeah.
cayenne pepper. It doesn't have any additional salt.
Yeah.
And it's going to give you the heat that you want.
Right.
There's a book that I tell people about all the time. It's called The Flavor Bible.
Okay.
And in this particular book, for example, like we just talked about spice, there's more than just cayenne peppers. There's jalapeno peppers, and they add different depths and flavors.
Yep.
So if I look up chicken, for example, in this book, it will tell me all kinds of herbs and spices that go with chicken. So it's not going to be the same exact meal every
Right.
time. Making curry powder, we talked about curries
Sure.
earlier. Making curry powders, you can make your own curry powder
Right.
and alleviate the salt.
Yeah.
So that you still have something that's very flavorful, something that you're going to really love,
Yeah.
but less sodium.
Right.
So I'm a big fan of making spice blends.
That's great advice. Right. Well.
And you can always find a spice blend online. The recipe for a spice
Okay.
blend, you just have to remove the salt from it.
Sure.
So there's so many recipes.
Yeah.
We do a toast in my house. Okay.
Thank you very much for this.
You're welcome.
Looks delicious. That's excellent.
Just the right amount of spice. And I think the corn gives it a little sweetness.
I think it does, and you know, for all of the low sodium options that we chose for this, it really doesn't taste low sodium at all.
It doesn't. And that's why I like it. And again, if you wanted a little more heat, you can add a little more cayenne. If you wanted a different type of heat, you can add jalapenos right on top. Fresh
Right.
jalapenos.
Uh-huh.
That gives you a nice little kick too.
It's really got a lot of flavor, and you know, took no time at all. So great recipe.
Thank you. Well, it's not mine. I wish it were. I could take credit for it. It's from American Heart. But it is delicious. It is low in sodium, full of fiber
Yeah,
and protein.
I tell you,
This is a good one.
I'll be making this one at home
Good.
for sure.
Me too. Well, I want to thank you, Dr. Monfredi, for joining us, and we will see you guys next time on Cook with a Doc.